In our contemporary kitchen, I gazed at the scorched remains of my passport, once pristine but now charred and shrunken, with edges resembling ash. The pungent aroma of burnt plastic filled my nostrils as tendrils of smoke wafted from the marbled countertop. My wife, Belle, lounged nearby, nonchalantly sipping her green smoothie and scrolling through her phone as if she hadn't just incinerated my identity. She didn't bother to look up when she spoke, her tone dripping with false humor. "You don't need it," she quipped, smirking arrogantly. "Stay home and take care of the kids. That's what husbands like you do. I'm going to unwind." Unwind, she used such a casual term for her upcoming trip to Santorini with Noah, her mistress. She believed I was unaware. She thought I was too engrossed in my work, too oblivious, to notice the late-night messages, the women's getaways, and her newfound penchant for dressing up for errands. I had known for months, yet she remained clueless. The secret I guarded was the monumental deal I just closed selling my startup, the culmination of 15 years of relentless work, to an international conglomerate for $2 billion, a sum so enormous it warranted a capital B. Money in my grasp, liberty at my fingertips, and she was oblivious. I chose to keep it hidden even from her, wishing to astonish her with a transformed life, perhaps the Italian villa we'd once dreamt of years ago when she still regarded me as significant. However, now the reality struck me. She didn't merit the surprise. She didn't deserve me. I remained silent as she completed her smoothie and ambled upstairs, humming as if she had triumphed in some grand tournament. I waited until the house fell quiet, the children tucked away, their breaths filling the silence. Then I acted. I snatched a duffel bag from the closet, packed it with clothes, my laptop, some necessities. In my office, I unlocked a safe that she was unaware of the combination for and retrieved bundles of cash, some papers, an unused car key fob from the vehicle I bought last year and failed to disclose. My intentions were not flighty or impulsive. This was a deliberate act. This was me reclaiming power. Before departing, I returned to the kitchen. The charred remains of my passport still marked the marble countertop. I jotted down a brief note. "You're correct. I'll stay home. Have a good trip." Placing it by the ashes, I knew she would discover it in the morning. She might perceive it as submission. She may even laugh. If so, let her. I closed the door behind me, climbed into my unnoticed black SUV, and ventured into the night, illuminated cityscapes streaking past as I steered towards downtown. My thoughts raced, yet I remained composed. I was no longer the man she believed abandoned. I had transformed into someone she'd never anticipate. In stark contrast to our suburban manor, the penthouse suite I entered was another universe. Walls of glass, an urban skyline view, a deafening silence that pulsed with power. I discarded my luggage, grabbed a whiskey from the minibar, and settled onto a leather couch, lost in the city's expanse through the window. My phone vibrated. Belle? Perhaps. Yet I left it unchecked. Not just yet. I craved this moment of solitude to feel the burden of my actions. $2 billion, a scorched passport, a wife who believed she'd outsmarted me. For now, the children were secure with the nanny. Tomorrow, I'd solve that puzzle. Tonight was about reclaiming my life. I leaned back, savoring the whiskey, the burn in my throat echoing the inferno within me. She thought she'd caged me, restrained me, reduced me to her domestic plaything as she reveled with her lover. But she underestimated me. Severely. I wasn't a captive. I wasn't bankrupt. And I most certainly wasn't finished. Tomorrow, she'd find an empty home and a harsh reality check. She couldn't disregard what I had left behind. It wasn't just the note, but the initial indication of the turmoil yet to come. This was far from over. It was only the start. I awoke to sunlight filtering through the full-height windows of my new penthouse apartment, the city stretching out below like a chart of opportunities. The couch groaned as I sat up, my neck stiff from sleeping in an uncomfortable position, but my mind was clear. I had departed the house the previous night, abandoned Belle and her petty game, and now I was liberated. The duffel bag stood in the corner, a testament to the minimal belongings I'd taken with me. My phone vibrated on the glass-topped coffee table, displaying 10 missed calls and a dozen texts, all from her. I hadn't yet read them. I knew their content. Initially confusion, then anger, followed by some feeble explanation. She had awakened to an empty bed, a vanished husband, and my note beside the remains of my passport. Well done. I took a shower, allowing the hot water to erase any remnants of our former life, before slipping into a fresh shirt and jeans garments she had never selected for me. My initial phone call was to Juno, my attorney, who answered promptly, her tone as composed and businesslike as ever. "You're calling early," she remarked. "Everything all right?" I informed her of everything. Brielle destroying my passport, her vacation with Noah in Santorini, her derisive remarks towards me as if I were a penniless failure. Then I disclosed the significant news. I had sold the startup. 2 billion. Closed yesterday. A moment of silence followed, then a quiet whistle. "Well, that's impressive," Juno said. "Congratulations. And what do you intend to do about her?" I replied with a smile, gazing at the cityscape. "I want her locked out. All joint accounts, cards, and access. I want it all frozen by noon." Next, I phoned Theo, my business partner, the only one who'd stayed loyal during our hard times. He had been present when I signed the deal, beaming like a child on Christmas morning. "You're brilliant," he'd commented before. When I shared that I departed from Brielle, he chuckled. "Long overdue. What's your strategy?" I revealed my need to connect with certain individuals and arrange things accordingly. He suggested handling the media leak regarding the sale if it surfaced. "Keep my involvement under wraps for now." I concurred. Discretion was my key tactic. By noon, Juno messaged. "Completed. Accounts are frozen. She has only what's in her purse left." I visualized Brielle and Santorini attempting to pay for a drink and being denied by the waiter. She'd contact me then, infuriated, demanding explanations. I wouldn't answer. Instead, I brewed myself a potent black coffee from the machine, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop to plan my next step. The penthouse had been purchased with cash, 2 million in advance, without a mortgage or any trace leading back to me yet. I employed a shell company, something Theo had established years ago for tax reasons. Brielle wouldn't discover me here. She didn't even know I possessed the funds to acquire such a place. To me, she persisted viewing as the struggling spouse, the one she derided in the past. Now, I required confidants, individuals capable of transforming this predicament to something under my management. My initial destination was Isla, Noah's fiancée. Unaware of her partner being halfway to Greece with my wife, likely enjoying wine while chuckling about deceiving us, I managed to obtain her number through a mutual acquaintance and made contact, requesting a meeting. "It's urgent," I stated. She sounded hesitant but consented. "Coffee shop, downtown, 1 hour." Grabbing my keys, I left for the venue. Isla was already seated at a corner table, her blonde hair tied back, her face etched with stress. Known to her only as Brielle's husband, the silent figure who seldom spoke in gatherings, I took a seat, ordered coffee, and immediately conveyed my message. "Noah is unfaithful to you with Brielle. They are currently in Santorini." Her eyes widened, then hardened. "You're lying," she responded, but her voice trembled. I retrieved my phone, displayed the evidence from the private investigator. Brielle and Noah embark on a flight with him touching her leg, her giggling as if nothing mattered. Isla, eyes brimming but unshed tears, simply stared before murmuring, "That scoundrel." I leaned near, whispering softly, "I'm not here to harm you. I'm here because we can aid each other." She had burned my passport to keep me trapped while they escaped, yet I am not bound. I have more assets than they realize, and I will utilize them. Isla lifted her gaze, her jaw clenched. "Explain yourself." I detailed the sale, the funds, the newfound power I possessed. "They believe they've won, they haven't. All I require is evidence, something to bury them." She nodded slowly, then extracted her phone. "I possess his cloud password. Let me verify something." We stayed quiet, sipping coffee as she navigated through Noah's backup folder. Her fingers halted. "Oh my God," she breathed, turning the screen towards me. Messages, countless ones. Discussions between Noah and Brielle about emptying our accounts. They would portray me as the villain, while they lived lavishly with me taking the blame. He claimed you were bankrupt, Isla announced aloud. He predicted you'd never recover, I scoffed bitterly. He's going to realize how misguided he was. Isla gave me the phone, urging me to utilize it. Take it, use it. I want him to pay. I forwarded the messages to Juno along with a memo. Begin constructing the case. This wasn't simply about revenge, it was about justice. Brielle believed she'd destroyed my life when she burned my passport. However, all she did was ignite the fuse. I thanked Isla, vowed to keep her informed, and departed the coffee shop with a flame in my heart. The penthouse beckoned, serving as my new operational base. I was no longer concealing myself, I was tracking. That evening, I sat in the penthouse, the city lights blinking like a multitude of eyes watching me reassemble my life. Isla's messages from Noah's phone lay open on my laptop, each message a knife. Brielle and her lover had plunged into my back. Despite every word searing me, I couldn't tear myself away. He's oblivious, Noah had penned. Believes he stands a chance at something grand. You'll see when we liquidate. Brielle's response. He's preoccupied with fatherhood. He won't notice until it vanishes. For months, they've been scheming, embezzling funds, manipulating me to appear inept while they fled with their dreams. The tables had turned on them. I wasn't bankrupt. I wasn't clueless. And I was far from done. I called Juno again, my footsteps echoing across the hardwood floor, phone glued to my ear. Did you receive those texts? I inquired upon her answering. Yes, she replied, her voice even but edgy. These data are valuable. I'm gathering footage from the house cameras as well, obtained from the cloud backup. Sending it over now. She paused before continuing, Your cam for a man whose wife has burned his passport. I chuckled, the sound rough. The cameras have all been taken care of. Send it swiftly. I need this sealed. Juno assured that a draft of the legal documents would be ready by morning, including restraining orders, asset freezes, and more. After the call, I slumped onto the couch, massaging my temples. The penthouse was eerily quiet, yet it provided solitude for contemplation. It wasn't merely about money or ego. It was about the children, about the life I had created. Brielle might have burned my passport, but she wouldn't destroy that. 10 minutes later, the footage arrived from the security cameras installed after Brielle faked the break-in last year. She alleged someone tried to force open the back door, a claim I never believed. As I watched the clips now, I understood why. In the dead of night, there she was, sneaking Noah into the garage, laughing as they bumbled inside. Another clip showed her rummaging through my desk, likely searching for cash or bank statements. She even waved at the camera once, mockingly, thinking I wouldn't review it. Foolish action. I saved every moment, marked it for Juno. This wasn't merely proof, it was ammunition. My phone buzzed once more, Brielle. Where are you? The card isn't working. Contact me. I couldn't help but smirk, envisioning her stranded in Santorini, tapping her foot in those absurd heels, berating some hapless hotel clerk. Noah was likely perspiring too, given that Isla had informed his company about his lengthy leave. I remained silent. Let them squirm. I had larger matters to attend to. I phoned Isla back, reaching her as she was exiting Noah's apartment. I've uncovered more, she said tersely. Receipts, airline tickets, hotel reservations, all under his name, yet charged with our joint card. My teeth clenched. Send it across. Are you all right? She sighed. No, but I will be. He won't escape this. I admired her determination. Like me, she was casualty, but she wasn't wallowing in self-pity. She was battling. Thousands of dollars spent on luxury first-class flights, a lavish suite at a prestigious Greek resort, meals unknown to me, arrived as charges in my inbox. Each expense was a harsh reminder, yet also a testament. I sent it to Juno, labeling it as embezzlement. My startup sale was yet undisclosed, but Theo had secretly moved the money into my offshore accounts, making it inaccessible. Brielle believed she'd depleted me financially. She barely made a dent. I relaxed, gazing at the ceiling of the penthouse, filled with the scent of fresh paint and leather. It was a clean slate. My children, aged 6 and 8, were likely perplexed this morning as I missed making pancakes. The nanny took care of them, but I needed to see them soon to clarify things without tainting their image of their mother. That would be challenging. I didn't want them hating her, even if I did. They deserved more than our chaos. My thoughts turned to Noah, self-satisfied fellow. I visited his firm's website, a mid-level investment group. His bio boasted about honesty and client confidence. Hypocrite. Isla claimed she had emailed his superior screenshots of the messages, along with a heads-up regarding his secret trip. By now, he was likely receiving phone calls, rushing to provide explanations. I wished he'd struggle with it. The video continued looping on my laptop, clip after clip showing Belle and Noah in my home, my sanctuary, behaving as if they owned it. One segment depicted her burning my passport, holding it over the stove with tongs, laughing as the fire ignited. Bon voyage, loser, she'd said, placing it on the counter. I froze the frame, saved it. This was Exhibit A, evidence of malicious intent, crystal clear. Juno would relish it. I stood, stretching, and walked to the window. The city buzzed below, unaware of my conflict. I wasn't merely gathering proof to safeguard myself, but constructing a case to destroy them. Theft, fraud, perhaps even property destruction. I didn't care about jail time for her. I just wanted her exposed, both financially and socially. Noah, too. Isla messaged again. Let them see what it feels like to lose everything. He's contacting me, she wrote. I didn't respond. You, was my reply. No response in return. Stay strong, she sent a thumbs up in response. I admired her more with each passing moment. She wasn't just a victim. She was becoming an active participant, whether she realized it or not. I settled back down, opening a fresh document. The true strategy was crystallizing, shifting from defense to offense. I aimed to unveil them, not through loud accusations, but with subtle, indisputable evidence. A journalist friend, Allura, was indebted to me for assistance on an old story. She'd be intrigued by this. It involved suburban deceit, money, sex, the entire melodrama. I emailed her. I had a scoop, off the record for now. We would meet for coffee tomorrow. She'd be interested. The headline was already clear in my mind. The hands of the clock moved past midnight, but exhaustion didn't touch me. Adrenaline kept me alert. Every text, every clip, every receipt was a brick added to the wall I was constructing, one they would never surmount. Belle believed she could drive me out of her life. I hadn't realized I had given you the match. Sitting at my penthouse desk, the incriminating texts and videos on the laptop screen held little interest for me. Instead, my thoughts wandered to the past, specifically our first encounter 12 years ago. Back then, I was a struggling coder hunching over an aged laptop in a garage reeking of motor oil and cold coffee. That day, she walked in with a companion, her eyes bright, smiles effortless, clad in a sundress that shimmered under the light. Despite my disheveled state from 16 hours of coding, she didn't seem to mind. It seems like you're crafting the future, she said, leaning against the workbench. I laughed self-consciously and shared my unremarkable app idea. But she stayed, asking questions, genuinely interested, as if I mattered. That was the Belle I fell for, the one who saw potential in me when there seemed to be none. As I gazed upon the city lights, I pondered where that girl disappeared to. Once upon a time, I was consumed by ambition, working long hours and barely surviving on ramen and optimism. She initially appreciated this, calling me her dreamer, assuring she'd be there when I achieved success. 2 years later, we got married in a modest backyard ceremony, me in a borrowed suit, her radiating in white. I pledged her the world, and I meant it. However, as my startup expanded, so did her demands. The application transformed into a platform, the platform into a company, and all of a sudden, I wasn't just a dreamer. I was a gadget she wanted to fine-tune. She began selecting my wardrobe, criticizing my old jeans as inappropriate now that I had investors to impress. My college friends, they were deemed too casual, with her steering me towards her polished acquaintances instead. Even my family received the frosty treatment. She'd devise excuses to avoid dinners with my mom, my brother Kai, claiming they didn't align with her style. I allowed it to continue. It's that aspect that hurts the most now. In my relentless pursuit of creating something tangible, I failed to notice how she was meticulously molding me into an accessory. The countless hours spent at work weren't merely for productivity, they were a refuge from her persistent prods, her subtle jabs about how I had lost my sparkle. She yearned for luxury, prestige, the social media facade, while I remained the man who preferred debugging issues over sipping champagne at extravagant galas. Slowly but surely, I transformed into a polished version of myself, well-groomed, prim and proper, quiet at her gatherings because she had taught me to be so. I believed it was compromise. It wasn't. It was manipulation. The act of burning my passport. That was her ultimate statement, her way of saying I no longer mattered. Stay home. She smirked, as if I were a pet she could tether while she eloped with Noah. She didn't merely want me out of the picture. She wanted me diminished, powerless, a minor character in her glamorous narrative. As the memory struck me, I drained a glass of water from the penthouse sink, swallowing it hastily. 12 years, 2 children, a life I constructed piece by piece, and she torched it all as if it were worthless. Yet, she was unaware of the truth. She was oblivious to the fact that I had sold the company, transforming my garage vision into a fortune of $2 billion. To her, I remained the penniless coder, the destitute spouse she could ridicule. She wed a deception, but not the one she envisioned. As I approached the window, I pressed my hand against the frosty glass. The city bustled below, vibrant and indifferent. I recalled the bygone days when we'd remain awake discussing unattainable trips, such as that villa in Florence I'd scribbled on a serviette one time. She had chuckled, stating we would visit once I became successful. I had achieved success indeed. Now I was alone in a penthouse, while she was enjoying wine in Santorini with someone who believed he had won her heart. The irony rankled me. I had invested years constructing something for us, the children, and she had traded it for an affair and a tan. My phone vibrated, yet another message from her. This isn't amusing. Where's the money? I didn't respond. She'll realize it eventually, when her cards get declined, when Noah's promises fail. I'm not the man she married anymore, not the gullible idealist she could shape. I've transformed into something else, something she underestimated. The footage from the house cameras, the messages from Isla, the receipts, they're all pieces of a puzzle. But this isn't just about proof. It's about me rediscovering who I was before her. I thought about the kids again, how she'd dress them like little dolls for social media, how she'd scoff when I took them to the park instead of some trendy brunch spot. She turned our family into a backdrop, and I let her. No more. I'll reclaim them, give them a life that isn't about likes or filters. I'll show them the world, Florence, maybe, like I'd promised myself years ago. Belle can keep Santorini. I'll take the real deal. I sat back down, running a hand through my hair. The spacious penthouse echoed emptily, yet it belonged solely to me. No remnants of her, no fragrance, no ultimatums, no sarcastic remarks. I was left with the raw truth. She'd destroyed my passport to keep me tethered, to clip my aspirations while she soared away. However, I wasn't merely a backup plan as she presumed. I was the headliner, the man who constructed an empire while she was preoccupied with posing. She derided my accomplishments, friends, origins, assuming she had surpassed me. Soon, I would make her remember the man she scorned wasn't a stepping stone on her path. He was the entire mountainous endeavor. I closed my laptop, its screen dimming. Tomorrow I'd encounter Allura, preparing to reveal this tangled web. Tonight, though, I simply sat there, allowing the past to settle around me like accumulated dust. A dozen years with a woman who barely knew the real me. A dozen years of accommodating, shrinking, striving to conform to her mold. That was behind me now. The deceitful marriage she entered is no more. The genuine me, he's just getting underway. Awoke to the gentle drone of the penthouse AC as the city remained slumbering beyond my windows. My phone lay dormant, devoid of Brielle's messages or vibrations, immersed in a tranquility that echoed triumph. I'd disconnected last night, silenced notifications, allowing her to simmer in the mess she'd created. She was undoubtedly in Santorini by now, likely waking up to rejected cards and a companion incapable of settling the bill. I visualized her tapping her foot impatiently, flipping her hair haughtily, demanding answers from an unconcerned hotel clerk. It served her right. Let her taste it. Stepping out of bed, my bare feet met the cool hardwood, and I brewed strong, black coffee without ceremony. The penthouse exuded liberty, and I was prepared to seize it. The first order of business was phoning Juno. "What's the update?" I inquired, sipping from my mug. She was succinct. "Joint accounts are sealed. Cards are invalidated. She has whatever cash she carried, and that's all. Offshore trusts are securely established. Your $2 billion are safe. She can't access a cent of it." I nodded, though she couldn't perceive me. "The house." Juno's tone sharpened. "Title deeds no longer under your name. Transferred to the LLC. She has no right unless she challenges it in court, and with what funds?" I smirked. The palatial home, our large, glossy suburban prison, was mine in every significant aspect. Brielle could pound on the door as much as she wished. She wasn't getting in. I'd vanished, and it felt liberating. No calls, no explanations, just me manipulating mechanisms she didn't even know existed. I scrutinized my new banking app, neatly organized, swollen with the sale proceeds. Theo had also received his share, but mine was the larger portion. $2 billion, waiting like a loaded weapon. Brielle believed she'd left me penniless, struggling. She didn't realize I'd been preparing for years, making silent moves, setting up shell companies and trusts that she never detected. I wasn't the fool she had portrayed me to be. Next, I messaged Isla. "How are things?" She responded promptly. "All calm. Law firms are after him." "I'm fine, thanks." I admired her more with each passing day. She endured her own blow, yet remained standing tall. She forwarded him the texts, receipts, everything, and now Noah felt the pressure mounting. His secure job was likely in jeopardy given his infidelity with a married woman wasn't exactly an asset on a resume. I responded, "Stay vigilant. She'll be returning home soon." Isla responded with a fist bump emoji. We were now united, whether she recognized it or not. I roamed the penthouse, coffee in hand, contemplating my next action. The children were with the nanny, secure and fed, likely wondering where I was. I'd contact them later, maintaining a light tone, but today required concentration. Brielle's world was crumbling, and I was the mastermind. I replayed the house camera footage again, observing her burning my passport repeatedly. That smirk, that laughter, it motivated me. She believed she had grounded me, but I was already soaring. My phone buzzed with an email from Juno. House codes were altered. She'd be locked out upon landing. A flawless plan. Picture her arriving in a taxi, carrying designer luggage, entering the code into the lock pad. It didn't work. She'd shout, "Contact me," possibly even the police. Go ahead, let her try. The limited liability company owned it now, and I had the right to protect my property. She would be left standing outside in those ridiculous heels, appearing the fool she was. However, I needed more than just money and the house. I wanted her exposed, for her perfect life to be revealed to everyone. That's when I considered Allura. She was a journalist I had met years ago when my startup was still insignificant. I provided her with a tech tip once, saved her deadline. She owed me a favor. I picked up my laptop, sent her a message, "Hey, I have something huge." Suburban influencer double life, money, deceit, the whole package. "Coffee today? Off the record for now." She responded in minutes, "Yes, absolutely." 2 p.m., our usual spot. I smiled. Allura enjoys sensational stories, and this was a feast. I delved deeper during the morning, comparing Islaw's receipts with CCTV footage. Every action by Brielle and Noah was haphazard, trackable. They had used my card for expenses like flights, hotels, even a spa treatment for couples. I amassed all the evidence, expanding the file significantly. Juno would use it for the legal aspects, but Allura, she'd craft a narrative that'd destroy Brielle's reputation. With her numerous followers and brand deals, she could lose everything overnight. By noon, I was restless. I picked up my keys and left for the coffee shop early. The place was empty except for a few people typing on their laptops. I chose a corner table, ordered black coffee, and waited. As scheduled, Allura arrived, her hair pulled back, her notebook ready. "You seem different," she commented, sitting down opposite me. "In a good way," I shrugged casually. "A new phase. Are you prepared for this?" She leaned in, eyes sparkling. "Confide." I kept it general, no names involved yet, just the essentials. A suburban woman. An affair. A woman believed to have betrayed him. She destroyed my passport to ensure I stayed, as she eloped with another man. I countered, "Believes I'm penniless." I'm not. Pen scratched furiously over paper, and the surprise. I reclined, sipping coffee. I had just sold my firm for $2 billion. She remains unaware. Allura whistled softly. That's a considerable hook. What's the strategy? I revealed I desired a profile. Not about me, not yet. But concerning the concealed financial manipulations that individuals like Belle indulge in. She is the focal point, I stated. Both her and her lover. Let it be exposed to the world. Allura nodded, jotting down notes. I can maintain anonymity for now, it's rumored, fitting the vibe. When you're ready, we disclose names. I agreed. Timing was crucial. Belle would return soon, and I wished this revelation to unfold when she least anticipated it. We discussed the finer points, how she'd present it. But I'd send her draft next. By the time I departed, the plan was set in stone. Back at the penthouse, I checked my phone. Belle called again. Today marks the end of Brielle's return, walking into a trap orchestrated by me. Silent and unreachable, I manipulated events from behind the scenes. She will find her home locked, funds depleted, life crumbling. In retaliation, she torched my passport, but I had already destroyed her world earlier. Standing at the penthouse window with coffee in hand, I watched the city awaken below me. It's been 3 days since Belle departed for Santorini, and today her plane is due to land right into the chaos I've created. My phone has remained silent all morning, no messages or calls, only the tranquility before the storm. Juno verified everything. The house security codes were changed, accounts frozen, and LLC established. Belle will collide with a brick wall, and I won't be there to cushion the impact. I don't feel remorseful not over the passport incident, nor the text messages, nor witnessing her laughter with Noah at those camps. She chose this bed. Now she can lie in it. Tracking her flight on my computer, I see her plane is scheduled for noon. She imagined her sauntering through the airport with designer shades, anticipating her flawless life upon return. However, she'd encounter a locked door and an account that failed to answer her pleas. Likely, Noah was with her, perspiring over his explanations, his world in ruins post-Islaw's actions. I chuckled, sipping my coffee. They were a match made for each other, two deceivers scrambling amidst the wreckage. I wasn't at the house, needless to say. I'd been monitoring the cameras from afar, the app on my phone. The nanny had taken the kids to her residence the previous night. My orders, no queries asked. I'd contact them later, inform them I was on a business trip. Keep it straightforward. They didn't require to witness this aspect. The footage from today displayed an empty driveway, the mansion looking like a deserted town. I waited, aware she'd appear soon, knowing the cameras would capture everything. Around 1 p.m., my phone buzzed, a motion alert from the front door cam. There she was. Belle arrived in a taxi, her hair disheveled, her countenance tense with frustration. She hauled her suitcase to the keypad, inputting the old password repeatedly. It didn't work. She tried harder, then slammed her hand against the door. I increased the volume, heard her exclaim, "What the hell?" She likely dialed my number, but I had blocked it last night. I saw no reason to listen to her distress. She paced the porch, the sound of her heels clicking echoing. Then she attempted the back door. Locked. She kicked it, cursed loudly enough for the microphone to capture it, and sat on the steps with her head in her hands. I reclined on the couch, observing her breakdown. She seemed smaller out there, less like the queen she portrayed online, and more like a child who had lost a treasured toy. Her suitcase lay beside her, a garish pink monstrosity filled with clothing she could no longer afford. I felt no pity. She threatened to burn my passport, ridiculed me, ran off with Noah believing she had triumphed. This was her long overdue wake-up call, harsh and unforgiving. My phone vibrated. It was Juno. "She's at the house," she informed me. "If she continues creating a ruckus, the police might be involved." "Are you all right with that?" I silently affirmed. "Yes, let her try. Since it's my property now, she has no legal ground." Juno chuckled. "She won't appreciate your actions." I remained unmoved despite being invisible to her. She disliked me regardless, and this action merely formalizes our strained relationship. While Brielle lingered outside, I had tasks to attend to. Lately, I found myself reflecting on my mom, how she single-handedly raised Kai and me after Dad left, and her assurance that I'd achieve great things. She passed away 5 years ago due to cancer, and ever since then, I've yearned to establish a foundation in her honor. Brielle consistently scoffed at the idea, claiming it wasn't trendy enough. Instead, I should focus on lucrative investments like her social media savvy associates. However, I decided to disregard that advice. With the proceeds from the sale, I could finally pursue this endeavor genuinely. I contacted Theo. "Hey, do you still have that non-profit contacts number?" he confirmed. "I'm sending it over now." "What's the topic at hand?" I explained to him about my mother's foundation, educational grants, and technology initiatives aimed at kids like me. He fell silent before replying, "That would make her proud, buddy. I'm with you. Whatever you require." For the rest of the afternoon, I spoke on the phone with a charitable man named Marcus, a shrewd individual. We discussed details for a project, $5 million as an initial investment, scholarships, coding camps, all under my mother's name. It felt fulfilling, like I was creating something significant, not just for myself, but for her. Brielle never appreciated this concept, legacy over popularity. By the time I ended the call, the necessary documents were in motion. I would sign them tomorrow. Upon returning to the cameras, Brielle was absent. Likely, the taxi had returned. She'd probably checked into a hotel, exhausting her remaining funds. I didn't concern myself with her whereabouts as long as it wasn't my responsibility. I poured a whiskey, sat down, and penned her a letter. Not an email, not a text message, but the traditional way, pen on paper. The note was brief. "Since you burned my passport for a man to join me on my dream trip, I've burned the pretense of our marriage. You won't hinder my pursuit of illusions, yet you'll embark on this journey without my presence or the empire I constructed. I have secured it, addressed to our home. The mailman will deliver it tomorrow. She will discover it eventually, once she determines a way back in." I leaned back, savoring the whiskey as its warmth filled my chest. Our penthouse was tranquil, yet no longer devoid of life. It felt like mine. The children would be fine. Soon, I'd take them on an exciting excursion, distancing them from this chaos. Brielle, she has returned to the world of facts, but not as she had anticipated. The cameras captured her breakdown, adding another fragment to Juno's dossier, yet I have no need to view it again. I've seen enough. As the clock struck 8 p.m., I rose, stretched, and approached the window. The city shimmered, pulsating with life and movement, while Brielle's world contracted. She believed she could expel me from her existence, stranding me while she departed with Noah, but I was not entangled. I was liberated, more free than I had been in years. The base was my beginning, a fragment of reality. Upon receiving the letter and reading its contents, she realized this wasn't her realm anymore. It was mine, and I was merely preparing to showcase my capabilities. On the fourth day since Brielle's world began crumbling, I sensed a change in the atmosphere, as if the storm outside was erasing the remnants of her illusions. I brewed coffee, the machine hissing as I glanced at my phone. There were no calls from her since I had blocked her, but the internet hummed with activity. She'd posted something vague and dramatic on her treasured social media last night, indicating she was experiencing genuine hardship, yet would rise above it. I scoffed into my drink, just like Brielle turning her predicament into a tragic tale, seeking validation through likes and empathy. Little did she know, only a fraction of what was to come awaited her. Yesterday's house camera footage showed her pacing the porch, arguing on the phone, and eventually leaving with her luggage. She likely spent the night at a hotel, possibly Noah's, if he returned. Regardless, she was in disarray, while I remained composed. Juno had texted that she'd contacted a lawyer a budget option. The prenup, which she once dismissed as unnecessary due to my supposed lack of success, is now preventing her from accessing my fortune. This amused me. My laptop was open on the desk as the rain intensified, causing it to run down the glass. Allura's article had been published an hour ago, revealing the hidden truth behind influence and control. As requested, she kept the author anonymous, only referring to a suburban influencer who manipulated her husband's finances while leading a secret life with a lover. The details were obscure yet piercing. Whispers filled the air as Brielle's followers scrutinized her recent post, leaving comments that hinted at familiarity and criticism. I scrolled through the comments, observing the growing conversation. "Sounds like someone I know," one user wrote. "These fake perfect wives are the worst," said another. Remaining silent, I allowed the situation to unfold. My phone buzzed, a message from Allura. "The comments are exploding." "Great," I replied, "perfection. Let it simmer." She responded with a fire emoji. I leaned back, sipping my coffee, feeling the warmth spread, knowing Brielle's carefully crafted image was beginning to crumble. Her curated photos, her uplifting captions, and the brand deals that financed her highlights and handbags were all part of her facade. Now it was falling apart, and she hadn't yet realized why. Her followers refused to be swayed by her attempts at pity. Too many had read the article. Too many were connecting the dots. I pictured her out there, likely refreshing her phone, wondering why the likes were dwindling. She'd attribute it to a glitch or the algorithm, but the truth was harsher. People could smell the deception. Her superficial social media peers, the influencer group she amassed, were already distancing themselves. I saw it on her posts. Less engagement from the regular clique, no cold gazes from the yoga mom circle. Brands would be next to disassociate silently, without any official communication, just a gradual decline. She constructed her castle on unstable ground, and the waters were rising. An email appeared anonymously, bearing no name, only a temporary address. "She once mocked you," it stated, "labeled you her money tree, claimed you'd never leave because you lacked backbone. It's gratifying to see you proved her wrong." I fixed my gaze on it, my jaw clenched. It could have been one of her associates or someone she confided in during a wine night. Irrelevant who it was. It validated what I had long suspected. She never valued me. I was just a prop for her. I saved the email, forwarded it to Juno, another piece of evidence against her. The rain persisted, casting a gloomy veil over the city. Brielle was in crisis management mode, but she had no resources left. Without money, house, or support from a spouse, Noah was no help either. Isla had ruined his career, and he barely managed to hold down a job at a burger restaurant. I imagined them quarantined somewhere, bickering over blame, their shared dream reduced to embers. She might have burned my passport to keep me imprisoned, but all she accomplished was igniting her own downfall. I glanced at the security cameras once more, finding no new activity, just the empty house with rain collecting in the driveway. She hadn't returned yet, likely nursing her wounds somewhere. I didn't care. My thoughts were drifting away from her and towards myself. The foundation papers were prepared. I would sign them tomorrow with Marcus. 5 million as a beginning, a genuine legacy, not just a staged photo opportunity that my mother would have adored. She never did. She deemed it a waste, suggesting I buy a yacht instead. It was ironic how she pursued flashiness while I constructed solidity. My phone buzzed again, a text from Theo. "The articles were successful. You still don't want your name revealed. Hero sentiments." I chuckled, responded, "Not just yet. Let her burn first." He gave a thumbs-up approval. Theo understood this. Over the years, he'd observed Brielle's spiteful remarks directed towards me, her attempts to diminish me. Now, he was encouraging me, and it felt gratifying to have his support. I resumed my seat, reopening her social media account once more. The post remained unchanged, but the comments were turning hostile. "What's authentic, right? Spill the secrets," one read. "This is why your feed has been silent." Another taunted. I didn't grin, there was too much fury for that. but I sensed a change. She had thrived on control, on everyone buying into her facade. Now her mask was slipping, and she couldn't reattach it. The anonymous email still echoed in my mind. Money tree. That's what she perceived me as, something to shake for money, then discard once the leaves withered. She didn't realize I had developed roots deeper than she could reach, that I had transformed that tree into a forest. $2 billion, a fresh start, an opportunity to be myself again. Her mockery of my work ethic and my solitary nights coding while she was partying had uprooted her entire scheme. I filled a glass with whiskey as the rain persistently drummed outside. The article was merely an opening. Allura had more to unveil when given the signal. Brielle's warning sign was active, and the flames were escalating. She would awaken tomorrow with fewer admirers, colder relationships, a life she couldn't convincingly escape. I wasn't exulting, not yet. This wasn't about pleasure, it was about retribution. She aimed to expel me from her narrative. Now, I was crafting the conclusion, and it wasn't hers to govern. In the penthouse kitchen, the dawn light sliced through the rain-scattered clouds that had finally dispersed. The coffee machine bubbled as I waited, my thoughts on the impending meeting. Brielle messaged me last night, not from her usual number, likely a friend's device since I had blocked her. We must converse. In public. Please. I pondered over it for 10 minutes before responding. Agreed. Midday. I didn't desire to encounter her, nor hear her voice, yet I felt compelled to behold her one last time, searching for signs of discomfort, dishonesty, or a shattering confession. The diner on Fifth served as an impartial setting, bustling enough to prevent any theatrics. I intended to listen patiently, then depart forever. At precisely 11:30, I donned my jacket simple and black, unremarkable to her taste. The journey was brief, the city buzzing around me as I parked in the diner's lot. She was waiting, seated at a booth by the window, her hair tied back, her face devoid of its customary makeup. She appeared worn out, somehow diminished, as if the struggle had sapped her strength. I settled into the seat opposite hers, maintaining a stoic facade. The waitress approached, and I requested coffee, black, without sugar. Brielle nervously played with her water glass, her nails chipped, unpainted an anomaly. "You're being unfair," she began, her voice soft but biting. "Locking me out, suffocating everything, it's too much. You've expressed your viewpoint." Leaning back and taking a sip of coffee, I allowed her words to linger. She seemed to anticipate an immediate apology or attempt at reconciliation from me. Instead, I remained silent. "No," I eventually replied, placing the mug down. "This isn't retribution, it's liberation. I'm not inflicting punishment on you, Brielle. Rather, I am excluding you from my narrative." Her eyes flickered between skepticism and disbelief, like she was uncertain if I was speaking sincerely. "Your narrative?" she retorted sharply. "What about ours? The children? The home? You destroyed that," I countered with calm resolve. "The moment you took my passport, vanished with Noah." Her defensiveness faltered at this. "It wasn't like that," she whispered, but her voice sounded rehearsed. "I just needed a break. You were always working, always absent." This elicited a cold laugh from me. "A break? You meticulously planned it for months. Stole from me. Humiliated me. Stop lying to my face." She shifted uneasily, her gaze darting to the table and then back up. "All right. Fine. I made a mistake. You can't simply erase our past. We've been through a lot together. For a dozen years, I labored and constructed, while you posed and primped." I leaned nearer, whispering softly, "Our shared history is the reason for my presence here. I provided you with everything: time, money, an entire lifestyle. You repaid me by flinging it back at me. Now you're out of options." Her lips moved, then stopped. She attempted a different approach, using a softer tone and tilting her head like she once did when she wanted something. "We can mend this. For the children. I will return home. We will find a resolution, Al." "No," I replied more forcefully. "You don't understand. There's no home for you to come back to. It belongs to me, the house, the money, the life I created. You're not part of it any longer." Her face hardened, revealing her true feelings. Do you truly believe that you have risen above me? You will crumble without me. You always required me for. I raised a hand, silencing her. What did I need you for? To dress me up? To dictate who I should be? I've had enough of that, and I'm done with you. She tried using threats, raising her voice. I will contest this. I will fight it. Our history can't be erased. For a long time, I worked and built while you posed and primped. I came close to you, speaking softly. Our shared past is the reason for my presence here. I supported you in every way with time, money, and a life. You rejected what I gave you. Now, you're out of choices. Her lips moved, then stopped. She tried another approach, lowering her voice and tilting her head like she used to when she wanted something. We can rectify this. For the children, I will return home. We will find a solution, Al. No, I said more firmly. You don't grasp it. There's no home for you to come back to. It's mine, the house, the money, the life I constructed. You're not a part of it anymore. Her expression hardened, showing her real feelings. Do you honestly think that you've risen above me? You'll collapse without me. You always relied on me for. I lifted my hand to halt her. What did I need you for? To dress me up? To tell me who to be? I'm done with that, and I'm done with you. She attempted threats, raising her voice. I will challenge this. I will fight it. I showed her the prenuptial agreement from my jacket and placed it on the table. She'd signed it years earlier, thinking it was a joke. Read it, I said. You receive nothing, not a single cent. Her eyes scanned the document, her breathing quickening. This can't. There's no way. I stood up, dropping some money for the coffee. Apparently, financially disadvantaged husbands fare well when they play the long game. Goodbye, Belle. I left, feeling her gaze on my back. But I didn't look back. The air outside was refreshing, the city bustling around me. She tried every tactic. Guilt, charm, threats, none worked. I got into my car, let out a sigh of relief. That was it, the final tie severed. She was no longer my wife in any meaningful sense. The diner receded from view as I drove back to the penthouse, the burden lifting. Back home, I poured myself a whiskey, the sunlight filtering through the windows. The prenuptial agreement was my protection, but the wind of reality was fading away. She believed she could trick me once more, draw me back into her influence. Unbeknownst to her, I had moved past that, outgrown her. My phone vibrated, displaying Allura. Articles remained popular, propagate the names. I responded, soon. Let it marinate. Brielle's outburst at the diner would have made for an excellent tale, but I didn't require it. The anonymous version sufficed temporarily. I pondered her sitting there, clinging to Strauss. She had labeled me cruel, yet cruelty would have been prolonging this, participating in her game. I ended it decisively. The children were next. I would see them tomorrow, treat them to ice cream, begin mending what she had damaged. They did not require her turmoil. They simply needed my presence. I would negotiate custody with Juno, maintaining a smooth process. The whiskey went down smoothly, a satisfying burn. I was no longer the man she'd wedded, the silent programmer she could manipulate. I had returned to being myself, unrefined and genuine, with $2 billion and a life she couldn't reach. Today, she exposed herself, revealing the desperation hidden beneath her polish. I exposed her, dismantling her control over me. The game ended. I emerged victorious and had no intention of looking back. Sunlight poured through the penthouse floor, illuminating the city beyond the glass, a pledge I could now fulfill. Brielle was absent, not only from the house, but from my thoughts, her voice echoing faintly after our confrontation at the diner. I severed the final connection, left her empty-handed, and the day was mine. The aroma of coffee filled the kitchen as I donned casual attire, clothes I preferred, distinct from those she approved. My phone vibrated with a message. Marcus, the non-profit man. Paperwork is ready. Meet at 10. I replied, I'll be there. Today wasn't about destruction, but construction. I navigated to his downtown office, the streets bustling with morning commute. The foundation was now tangible, bearing my mother's name. $5 million to begin, an opportunity for children like myself to strive for something significant. Marcus welcomed me with a handshake, his desk cluttered with documents. "This is substantial," he remarked, pushing the papers towards me. "Scholarships, coding camps, mentorships, beginning next term." I signed, my pen scribbling on the paper, remembering Mom, who worked extra hours to afford that initial bulky computer. Brielle had labeled it a waste. She was mistaken. This was legacy. Back in the car, I phoned the nanny. "Bring the children to the park at midday," I instructed. "I'll join you there." She concurred without protest. I hadn't seen them since my departure, and the longing struck hard, my son's silly grin, my daughter's quiet inquiries. I had kept our conversations casual on the phone, stating I was working, but they deserved more. The park offered a neutral, open space, a place to begin anew. I made a stop for ice cream en route, chocolate for him, strawberry for her, guessing their preferences as if I hadn't left. They rushed towards me upon arrival, little arms encircling my legs. My son shouted, "Dad," with dirt smeared on his face. My daughter hugged silently, looking into my eyes. "Where have you been?" she asked. I squatted down, gave them ice cream cones. "Work matters," I explained, "but I'm here now." "What's new?" They talked about school, the nanny's pancakes, a lizard they had seen. I paid full attention without any distractions like a phone or Brielle nagging. We sat on a bench under the warm sun, and I promised we would go on a trip soon. "Where?" my son asked, dripping with ice cream. "Florence," I replied. "Italy, with beautiful architecture and delicious food." They smiled. They had no idea it was also my dream, something Brielle had ridiculed. The nanny watched from afar, giving us privacy. I would sort out the custody issues later. Juno was handling it. But for now, this moment was enough. They didn't inquire about their mother, and I chose not to mention her. She would contact them later, share her story, but I wouldn't turn them against her. Played tag, pursuing them across the grass while we shared hearty laughter, a sound not heard in years. My breath felt short, yet it was invigorating, lively, unencumbered. Subsequently, I left them with the nanny and journeyed to the university. Previously, I had delivered a guest lecture there when the startup was still in its infancy. The dean had reached out last week, requesting my presence once more. Stepping into the lecture hall, I encountered students in hoodies gazing up, some half asleep. "I'm not here to put you to sleep," I began, leaning on the podium. "I'm here to share what I wish I'd known." I discussed coding, resilience, recounting how I transformed an idea in a garage into reality. They showed renewed interest when I mentioned the acquisition, a figure of $2 billion that left their eyes wide-eyed. "Wealth is pleasant," I remarked, "but it's what you do with it that truly matters." I described my philanthropic efforts, noting that a few nodded in agreement. One might question, "What's the catch?" I smiled in response. "No strings attached. Just work diligently and don't let anyone convince you of your insignificance." Upon returning home, I contacted Kai, my brother. We meandered, initiated by Brielle, primarily attributing her reason to him being too brash for his circle. "Hello there," I said upon answering. It had been a while. He chuckled, rich and comforting. "Indeed, quite some time." He inquired about my well-being after hearing some news about Brielle. I filled him in, succinctly, devoid of melodrama. "Wow," he responded. "You're quite the tough cookie now. Any plans for a trip?" "You, me, and the kids," I replied with a smile. "Florence, you're invited," he cheered. "Absolutely, let's catch up. Speaking of which, it's Silas, my college buddy, next." Brielle had despised him, labeling him a lazybones for his casual attire. "Yo," he greeted, voice drowsy. "You still breathing?" I chuckled. "More vibrant than ever." "Florence, me and Kai, you," he moaned. "You're insistent. I'll be there then. We'll rebuild. Me, Kai, Silas, and the kids." Uncensored. Authentic. Back in the penthouse, I seated myself at the desk, laptop activated. The clandestine project I'd been coding, personal and exclusive, required completion. I named it Vero Truth, Authenticity, a haven for genuine voices, not contrived perfection. Brielle's sphere was likes and deception. This was its antithesis. I wrote, words streaming fluidly, reviving the coder within me. Hours slipped by as the sun sank low, leaving me to lean back contentedly. It wasn't completed, but it pulsed with life. I poured myself a whiskey, stepped onto the balcony. Florence remained patient, my journey, my choice, no validation sought. The children's laughter lingered in my mind, Kai's voice, Silas' smile. The foundation thrived, the lecture resonated, Vero was still breathing. Brielle was off somewhere, struggling, but she no longer controlled me. It changed, money indeed, yet more than that, independence, purpose, reclaiming myself. The city glowed beneath, a surface ripe for my artistic expression. 2 billion possibilities lay open, yet this family, work, honesty were my cornerstones. I took a sip of whiskey, the wind cooling my face. Legacy wasn't about defeating her. It was about progressing beyond her, and I had barely begun. On the stage in Lisbon, amid the tech conference hubbub, a sea of faces gazed expectantly from below. In the bright lights and clutching a weighty microphone, I felt composed, more so than in years past. A year had passed since Brielle destroyed my passport, a year since I walked away and disrupted her life. Now I stood here, revealing Vero, my creation, my truth to an audience of coders, investors, and visionaries. The screen behind me radiated with a logo, straightforward, powerful, genuine. Authenticity, I declared, my voice dominating the background noise, accountability, truth, that's what this is all about. The crowd leaned closer, phones in hand, documenting. I wasn't jittery. This was who I was, unfiltered and ready. For months, I had been coding Vero, nights spent on a penthouse balcony with my laptop, the cityscape my sole companion. It wasn't merely an app. It was a middle finger to the fabricated lives Brielle thrived in, a place where people could create without pretense. I guided them through its workings, open source coding, encrypted conversations, no algorithms peddling falsehoods. We've had enough filters, I stated. This peels them away. A surge of applause started like ripples and turned into a wave. In the front row sat Kai, grinning widely, with Silas beside him, thumbs up. The children were taken care of by the nanny at home, but I planned to bring them here someday to witness their father's accomplishments. Following the demonstration, I descended from the stage, facing a queue and a session next. Gossips circled, microphones in my face. Is it true that your startup made 2 billion? One queried. I confirmed with a nod. Yes, it was sold last year. Another interjected. They say your wife betrayed you. Is that why this was built? I hesitated before answering, the question lingering heavily. Brielle's specter still trailed me, even in this place. I smiled slightly, keeping it light. She brought clarity to me. What she took is not worth as much as what she gave. They jotted down notes, nodded, and moved on. I didn't mention her name yet. Flores' article had already stirred the mud online concerning Brielle. I didn't need to add more insult to injury. The crowd gradually dispersed, and I reached for a bottle of water, my throat parched from speaking. Kai patted my back. You nailed it, man. My mother would be proud. I smiled back. Salis agreed. She would indeed. He added, drinks on you, billionaire. I chuckled, my tone relaxed. Florence had been enjoyable with Kai, Silas, the kids, enjoying gelato by the Arno without schedules or filters. Now Lisbon was ours, a well-deserved victory lap. A woman approached, her hair dark and eyes piercing. Not a reporter, but something else. Great conversation, she said, her voice warm yet straightforward. I'm Noah, artist, entrepreneur. I found Vero appealing. She has real legs. Thank you, I replied. What's your motive? She smiled, showing a hint of excitement. Building something too, though on a smaller scale. Yet, the same authentic vibe was there, truth over superficiality. We discussed our projects, the current tech mess. She didn't inquire about money or status. She just wanted ideas, plain and simple. Rebuilding is challenging. I admitted that I was testing her. She nodded in agreement. I am as well, she said. I smiled back. Same here. We exchanged numbers, nothing pushy, just a connection to revisit later. She left, and I watched her depart, feeling a sense of change. not love, not yet. But something was different. Merely a chance. When Brielle was dazzling and dominant, Noah felt like flame and determination. I didn't require a companion, but I wasn't isolated either. Solitude wasn't the correct side of history. It was about authenticity. Back at the hotel, I perched on the balcony, gazing down at Lisbon's lights spreading out. The conference echoed online, Vero gaining traction, my name linked to it. Visionary, they declared. Return king. I paid no heed to the titles. The deal, the wealth, it served as fuel, not the fire. The fire was this, the foundation flourishing, children attending coding camps thanks to mom's reputation, my own kids laughing once more, inquiring about Italy, Kai and Silas back in my life, Vero alive, thriving. Brielle? Now she was insignificant, the divorce finalized, her finances drained, her followers vanished. She attempted to return months ago, but was met with a harsh response. I no longer bothered to check. I recalled that night, the charred passport, her smirk, my silent departure. We had thought she'd triumphed, thought I'd remain insignificant. I scorched more than before, obliterating the falsehoods she constructed around me, the confinement she imposed. Countless doors stood wide open, but escaping was my salvation. I reconstructed, not for retribution, but for myself. The children had a father once more, not a prop. I acquired brothers, Kai, Silas, rather than her pretentious allies. Perhaps now, Noah, a flicker, not a puppet. My phone vibrated, Theo. Launch was successful. Investors were calling. You're back, man. I responded. Never abandoned. Just discovered the right path. He sent a virtual fist bump. I leaned back, the night breathable. Lisbon sparkled, a city I had mastered. But the rail wind whispered softer, me now complete. Brielle's blaze didn't consume me. It purged what was unnecessary. I lost a wife, a home, a persona I despised. I gained everything else. I rose, stretching, the din of the conference subsiding. Sarah was out there now, my testament to the world. The foundation expanded, the children were mine, and Noah's number resided in my phone, a potentiality, an uncertainty. In the game Brielle initiated, she had lost her ground. I stood correct, not for wealth or recognition, but for myself. The self I've always been, concealed beneath her distractions. A persona she never foresaw emerging. Stepping indoors as the balcony door echoed its closure, tomorrow beckoned my departure, my children, Kai, Silas, a life painstakingly constructed. Some conflagrations don't consume you, they ignite you. And I was ablaze with resilience.